This video is my own definition of rewilding, as I've distilled it from leaders in rewilding like Daniel Vitalis, Arthur Haynes, and Peter Bauer. It probably also has my own flavor added in, so don't expect it to align exactly with others' definitions. But this video will let you know what I mean when I say rewilding. This is not meant to be an exhaustive argument in favor of rewilding, but only an explanation and definition of what I mean by the term. For the case in favor of rewilding, I recommend reading books on the subject, such as Arthur Haynes' A New Path. In order to understand rewilding, I think it's useful to break down the word itself. Re. We all know this one. It means again, return, going back to something. To renew something is to make it new again, return it to a new state, or go back to its earlier newness. It's a repeat of something in the past, not an establishment of something completely new. Wild. We're used to using this term for animals. A pet dog, for example, is not a wild animal. Neither is a sheep on a farm, or a cow, or a goat. All of these animals do have wild counterparts. Wild dogs exist, and in North America we call them wolves or coyotes. Wild sheep exist, and wild goats. Wild bovines also exist, though less now than in earlier millennia. The native wild bovines here in North America are called bison, or sometimes buffalo. But what people are not accustomed to is the use of the term wild to describe humans. We don't usually think of humans as existing on a wild domestic binary. We're just human, right? Well, we'll get to that. We should also define rewilding's opposite, civilization, or what Komi'u calls kivi. Civilization is so ubiquitous in the civilized mind today that the word civilization seems synonymous with human society in general. But this is not the case. An Amazonian hunter-gatherer village of 130 people with no writing system, no agriculture, no large population, and no broad national allegiance is not a civilization. Civilization is the building of civitates, large cities. The United States is a civilization because it builds large cities and utilizes the associated necessary structures. In order for a large city to be sustainable, it needs agriculture, a writing system, and a clear and sophisticated social hierarchy. Any population that lacks these key attributes is not a civilization. Rewilding is the wholesale rejection of civilization as a way of life. Civilization domesticates humans, and rewilding seeks to, well, re-wild everything, including humans. Rewilding applies to several categories, but especially humans, plants, and animals. Rewilding rejects plant domestication and captivity. These plants are not designed for domestication. They are designed for wild ecosystems. They should be free. Rewilding rejects plant domestication and therefore agriculture. Contrary to popular misconceptions, forests, grasslands, and other wild ecosystems often have an abundance of plant foods available for humans. But three key problems have led to a perceived scarcity of wild foods. First, we humans have largely forgotten and abandoned these vibrant food relationships with our forests and other ecosystems. Second, we have fundamentally neglected these ecosystems by removing ourselves from them. Third, the building of civilized cities creates population density that wild ecosystems cannot sustain. Which ought to be a clue that such population density is not ke'u, but I digress. As odd as it may sound, I think the Disney film WALL-E is a good analogy for today's ecological neglect. Near the end of the film, the humans who have abandoned Earth realize that the reason Earth is languishing is because humans have neglected it. In order for the Earth to heal, humans must take charge and nurse it back to health. This is the natural order of things. We humans have been given dominion over this planet, to tend to it. The Earth's ecosystems are our gardens, but we humans, the gardeners, largely leave these gardens alone. This is a dire mistake. We humans belong in these ecosystems, to tend them and keep them in perfect balance. Many of our ecosystems are now in shambles because of human neglect. A properly tended hardwood forest, for example, yields more than enough food for humans and animals alike, provided humans do not build large, civilized population centers. Rewilding also rejects animal domestication. These creatures are designed to be in the ecosystems, like lions, wildebeest, zebras, tapirs, and bison. Let them roam. Let them be free. Wild animals tend to be stronger than farmed animals, require less tending, and eat a much more robust diet than farmed animals, which leads to a more nutritious meat when hunted and eaten by humans. A more nutrient-dense steak is better for all parties involved, including the prey animals like bison and deer. Now let's talk about humans. Humans as we live now are domesticated and living in captivity, like a lion in a zoo enclosure. We're not in an enclosure, you might say. We're free. Then go out into a national forest and build a village and hunt for your food there. But you can't. If you do that, you'll be forcibly returned into your cage, civilization, and you will be punished. You are not free. You are not wild. Wild animals tend to live the way they're designed to. Lions eat meat. Giraffes eat leaves. Baleen whales eat plankton. They live as they are designed to live, where they are designed to live. A lion is not designed to live as or where it does in a zoo or a large city. It is a fundamental insult to the lion's nature for it to live that way. How are humans designed to live? How do we even know? Is it large cities? Hubs of disease, crime, cruelty, mental illness, high stress? Where do humans naturally and instinctively turn to unwind, to escape, find their sanity, find peace, find satisfaction, find fulfillment? We go out. We find the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, the sea, and for me, most of all, we find forests. We seek out our true destiny, wildness. Indigenous people living closer to nature tend to have greatly improved metrics in physical robustness, strong immune systems, low cancer rates, excellent dental health and mental health, among other benefits. So physically, we humans seem better suited to indigenous life than to civilization. Fresh air, sunshine, a vibrant, nutrient-dense diet, constant quality time with your kin and community, locally sourced drinking water, fulfilling work to do, constant exercise to keep you fit. Imagine a life where you don't need multivitamins or treadmills. Your food is your multivitamin. Your everyday life is exercise enough for vibrant health, and your social media is the village itself. Imagine a life where you don't have to carve hours out of your suffocatingly tight schedule to go to a pottery class or take a short hike, because pottery and hiking are part of your life. Imagine a life where you don't have to pay ridiculous amounts of money or inconvenience to see most of your kin, because your kin lives moments away in your village. Studies of human neurology have found that humans can only meaningfully know about 200 other humans. So guess what the typical size of a non-civilized, wild human village is across the globe? Between 50 and 200 people. When Yahweh created humans, He commanded us to spread across the earth and tend to this planet. Instead, an early generation of humans congregated into a single city that history now calls Babel. To combat this, Yahweh scattered those humans across the earth, just as He had previously commanded them to do themselves. So, rewilding. No agriculture, no domestication, no large cities, no civilization. A wild and deeply human life. Ke'u. This is what I mean when I say rewilding. And this is Rewilding 101. To learn more about rewilding, check out the book A New Path by Arthur Haynes. Not only is it a phenomenal expansion on defining and explaining rewilding, but Haynes provides ample sources and examples for the claims of rewilding. I don't agree with everything that Haynes believes, but that's the case with all humans. We all disagree on something. But I think the book is definitely worth a read, and I generally agree with many of his claims.